Unfortunately for you, some rumors came out yesterday connecting you to the USC job. I just want to give you the opportunity to refute it so that you can put it to bed.
There's no chance. I'm here and committed to try to build an organization.
Okay.
This is so eerily reminiscent of what I've seen done with multiple other careers. And I know it's just 1 week. I know it's week 1, but at this point, there's enough empirical data for me to suggest that something's brewing in Jacksonville, and it's not something that's particularly good. And I want to give a huge shout out to my 3 Mike Mafia underbosses for joining on that subscription tier as a channel member. Shout out to ZVR, Anthony Wilson, and Arcane41. If you guys also want to check out our Discord chat, I'm going to leave a link to that in the description down below. Now that we got all that out of the way, break! Okay, I'm really excited because this is going to save you so much freaking money. It's a plugin called Honey that you just install to your web browser, and this is how it works. It's really simple. You go to joinhoney.com/microphone, and then let's say you just want to buy something, right? I want to buy a brand new Dak Prescott jersey, so I go over here on Fanatics, and right away you can see Honey has this little plugin over here that's telling me all of the last successful coupons and all the coupons that have been working recently. We go over here to America's Team. We go over here to Dak Prescott, and notice how Dak Prescott's jersey starts out at $149. And right here, as I'm about to check out, you can see that there's 4 coupon codes found. Fanatics automatically gives us a discount to $119, but I want a little more. I go to apply coupons. It's $149 beforehand, and Honey tests out all of these available codes to try to get you the best deal humanly possible to get you the cheapest price. And you can see originally we got a $119 valuation on this jersey. Now we could buy this jersey for $105. So definitely a huge tool and a very easy tool to use and an extremely useful tool to use. And if you don't have it, just go to the link in the description down below, joinhoney.com/microphone. And thank you, Honey, for the sponsor. Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? If you remember, before Trevor Lawrence was drafted, there was this particular meme going around when we thought that the New York Jets were potentially going to select him last year, when the New York Jets were the leaders in the tanking race, that Trevor Lawrence was potentially going to come back to Clemson just to avoid playing for the Jets. And ultimately, the Jacksonville Jaguars ended up winning the #1 overall pick, or losing out to get the #1 overall pick, and they were able to select Trevor Lawrence with the #1 overall pick. Now, for those of you guys that don't know, Trevor Lawrence is probably the most hyped up #1 overall pick since the days of Andrew Luck. I know a lot of people like to skip Andrew Luck and go straight to Peyton Manning, but to be honest, the last player that got this much hype, that was considered to be a surefire hit at the #1 overall pick, like, there's no questions in our mind that this man cannot be a draft bust. He has all the tools. He has a remarkable release. He processes information tremendously fast. He does deal with accuracy issues from time to time, but he also has the ability to be mobile and scramble out of the pocket, and he has remarkable hair. The last kind of player that we had that was even eerily similar to this was Andrew Luck. And I said in the case of Andrew Luck, the reason why we typically skip over him when we talk about transcendent talents is ultimately, and I know this is going to be very controversial, especially if you're an Indianapolis Colts fan, I believe Andrew Luck's career was completely mismanaged. I mean, this was a man that was drafted with a #1 overall pick. I think the next good move that they made was they drafted his tight end from Stanford, Kobe Fleener, very similar to what the Jacksonville Jaguars did with Trevor Lawrence, where they drafted Trevor Lawrence, and then for some reason they decided, hey, we're going to draft his halfback from college, even though we had a perfectly good running back in James Robinson. Ultimately, unfortunately, Travis Etienne is out for the season with an injury, but regardless, I thought that was a waste of a perfectly good first-round pick when the Jacksonville Jaguars could have either added additional wide receivers, or more importantly, I think the #1 thing that they should have done, especially if you look at what happened to Andrew Luck, was draft another offensive lineman. But I completely ignored that because, after all, maybe having a former buddy of his from Clemson in at Jacksonville really would help Trevor Lawrence feel confident in his new home in Jacksonville. But another very interesting decision that the Jacksonville Jaguars made, and I consider this to be a culture-shifting move, was the hiring of one of the most controversial college head coaches of all time, Urban Meyer. I'm sure you guys have seen these memes that every single time something is about to go wrong for Urban Meyer, he's going to fake a heart attack or fake heart problems and then try to leave his job, go do 1 to 2 years of commentary, and then find his next job. And I know that's a little insensitive, but of course the internet could be insensitive. Ultimately, the last job Urban Meyer had was Ohio State University. The job prior to that was when he was coaching Tim Tebow at the University of Florida, which, by the way, we have a tremendous video on how crazy those teams were. If you want to check it out, I'll leave it in the end screen for you. But in this case, it's really important to mention how delicate a situation like this is. If you look at what happened with Andrew Luck, the man was a tremendous NFL prospect, had every single tool that you wanted. All you really had to do was make sure you protected the guy. And ultimately, if you just look at the history that the Indianapolis Colts had in terms of who they selected after picking Andrew Luck, first of all, I gotta give them props because they absolutely crushed the Andrew Luck draft. I mean, selecting Andrew Luck with your first pick, Coby Fleener with your second round pick, Dwayne Allen and T.Y. Hilton with your third picks, automatic home run of an NFL draft. Unfortunately, they seem to have messed up every single draft after that. I mean, the year after, they missed on Bjorn Warner, and then they didn't really have a second round pick, and then they drafted like 2 offensive linemen that I haven't really heard of. In 2014, they were able to draft Jack Muhort in the second round, then Dante Moncrief in the third round. 2015, they took Philip Dorsett, someone that didn't really break out until he left Indianapolis, and then 2016 was the first time they finally selected an offensive lineman that is actually pretty solid, Ryan Kelly. But by then it was already a little too late. By then, Andrew Luck has had 2 seasons where he was sacked 41 times, had a season where he was sacked 32 times, and obviously 2015 wasn't as bad. He got sacked only 15 times, but that's because he only played 7 games. So by that point, it seemed to have been a little bit too little too late. And as a result, Andrew Luck would eventually retire early, and all we could do is sit here and make speculative videos of when he would return, which is something that we enjoy doing from time to time. Now, in this instance, the Indianapolis Colts mismanaged Andrew Luck's career in the sense that they just completely neglected protecting him. And in this instance, it's very important to take note of this situation with Trevor Lawrence because mismanagement of anyone's career could ruin careers. And in this instance, Urban Meyer was the head coach that was selected. Okay, fine. Culture shifting, college head coach hire. Sometimes it works out. It worked out with Pete Carroll in the Seattle Seahawks. It worked out with Jim Harbaugh in the San Francisco 49ers. Unfortunately, it didn't work out with the likes of Chip Kelly. It didn't work out with the likes of Bobby Petrino, and the jury's out on whether it's going to work out with Urban Meyer or not. So, unfortunately, we're getting reports that it's been a very turbulent start for Urban Meyer. I mean, the very first issues we're hearing that Meyer has had repeated issues with his assistant coaches and has rubbed the coaching staff and players the wrong way. And this is according to CBS Sports. Now, the issue is that Meyer apparently is quote unquote unhinged way too easily, according to Jason LaConfora, and doesn't know how to handle losing. And this is even in the preseason. He loses it and wants to take over the drills himself, and it's not good. Another source says that Urban Meyer has lashed out at members of his head coaching staff and called some of their job security into question after preseason losses. The assistant coaches are sitting there like, you can't freak out over preseason games and belittle your coaches on a staff that you personally picked. Like, it just doesn't work, and it just sets a horrible precedent. And honestly, this is coming after some fairly questionable moves by the Jacksonville Jaguars. I mean, I'm going to be honest, not a big fan of the Trent Baalke hire. Not at all. I mean, this is a guy that is notorious for mismanaging what could have been a dynasty for the San Francisco 49ers. But I digress. He was hired after Urban Meyer. That's a Shad Khan move, so I'm going to leave that alone. But then, out of nowhere, Urban Meyer's first move, one of his first moves, or Trent Baalke's first move, I think this is 100% Urban, was, hey, I just got a brand new coaching job. I have the most transcendent NFL prospect of the past decade. Let's go ahead and bring in Tim Tebow, a guy that hasn't played professional football in about 6 years, a guy that was most recently playing baseball, and hey, he's 33 years old, let's convert him to a tight end. Ultimately, Tim Tebow would get cut after week 1 after failing to block Curtis Weaver, a guy that would eventually get waived and isn't playing NFL football currently. But on top of this, Urban Meyer would get fined for breaking NFL offseason practice rules as well. The Jaguars would get fined $200,000 for this, and Urban would get fined $100,000 for this. So things aren't really looking good for Urban Meyer, especially after his NFL coaching debut. I mean, when you go out and face a team that, with all due respect, Houston, I'm very sorry, but literally has been gutting out its entire roster. I mean, literally, they don't even have Deshaun Watson playing. They traded Bradley Roby recently. Then they lost JJ Watt, and it seems like they're just trying to take on assets and trade their good players so they could rebuild after what Bill O'Brien did to the team. And in this instance, when you can't even compete with a team that, with all due respect, I believe is way worse than your team talent-wise, that's when I think you're going to be in some trouble. And I guess Urban Meyer is apparently feeling the same way, because there was a rumor that came out yesterday that Urban Meyer, and I'm going to get you the full quote from Michael Lombardi, that goes like this: "Interesting to hear the comments from folks in Columbus that I trust tell me that Urban Meyer might love going back to college. The timing of this move for USC tells me that there's something brewing. Not sure what, but something." So what he's talking about is USC fired their head coach, Clay Helton, which is literally in the middle of the NCAA season, so fairly interesting timing on that. And Urban Meyer actually came out and reacted to this. So here's the thing. Urban Meyer loses his probably like the best game that he could have to inspire confidence within himself against the Houston Texans. Trevor Lawrence looks horrible out there, throws 3 interceptions, and I honestly don't think it's his fault. He has a rookie head coach, it's his first game, whatever you want to give him. I don't think there was a more gimme game than that game against the Houston Texans. No better way to start things out really well than beating a team that should potentially get the #1 overall pick in the NFL draft this year. Afterwards, there's rumors that Urban Meyer might go back to the college ranks. There's a pretty good job for him to take and a program that he could restore to his former glory. And guess what? Urban Meyer's coming out and saying, hey, there's no way that's going to happen. He's going to stay in Jacksonville. But here's the thing. I think we've seen this story before. Do you remember when Nick Saban got hired by the Miami Dolphins, and in his first year, he said, hey, there's no way I'm going back to college. I'm not going to take Alabama's job, and ultimately went to Alabama. On top of that, Urban Meyer's not necessarily known for being the most honest of human beings. This is a potential situation to monitor, very Bobby Petrino-esque, if you ask me, something that you should keep your eyes on, because if this situation isn't solved quickly, you could be ruining, honestly, NFL gold here in the form of Trevor Lawrence. If you don't give him the right coach to prepare him, then he could potentially be screwed and his development could be stunted. Now, I don't think a rookie head coach that so far doesn't seem to have any idea what he's doing is the right head coach for Trevor, but at the same time, it's just week 1. For all you know, Urban Meyer could come in next week and all of a sudden, the Jacksonville Jaguars can pick it up and become a good team, but the odds of that happening, I don't really know. So let me know in the comment section down below what you guys think about all this. Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.